Okay, so Sunfounder definitely makes some really nice Raspberry Pi cases. This is a Raspberry Pi 4 with a Pironman case, and I've also got the Pironman 5 here, which is currently running Windows 11, and also looks really nice with the NVMe slot in there as well. They've just sent me their latest model. This is the Pironman 5 Max, which has dual NVMe slots, which means it can support an NVMe drive and the Raspberry Pi AI kit at the same time. So it's solely made for the Raspberry Pi 5. It's got a 0.96 inch OLED display, GPIO extender, so you can still use the GPIO pins when it's in the case, the dual NVMe, effective cooling system, we'll have a look at how they're doing that, RGB lighting, so it's got an infrared receiver, so you can control it with an infrared remote control, robust build quality. So we've got some instructions. Well, there's definitely a lot of components. I'm going to be doing this for a while. We've got a nice tower cooler that has a fan on it. And we've also got two other fans as well. And they're quite big for Raspberry Pi fans. And the casing is metal with full-size HDMI slots. Here's the dual NVMe board. So you can see the PCIe connection is on here, and it's got slots for all of the sizes, so from 2230 right up to 2280. Looks like it takes its power from GPIO pins. And here's our breakout board, which has the battery slot on it. So that's how it's going to connect to the Pi. I won't put it together yet because they're usually quite tight, these. But then that gives us everything on the same side. This is the little OLED screen. Sometimes I put cases together without instructions, but no, not this one. There's so much to it. So it says M2.5 times 8. Pretty sure it means that it's 8mm, because these say 5 and there's only 3 of them and they're shorter. Because you can see what's going to happen. The breakout board is going to be a different height to the Pi. Okay, I think that's all of those in the right place. We've got to put the micro SD extender in. You can see it's got screw holes through it to hold it in place. Then we plug in the HDMI adapter. So battery in place. And then the 4-pin header goes on here. That's the 2-pin wire in place. Ribbon cable, so we've got to lift this bit up. So pop it in the right way with the terminals facing inwards and lock that down. You can see the camera cable is optional, but I'm going to put it in because I might use the AI side of it. That's the camera cable in. And this is the AI camera I've got plugged in here as well. Thermal pads in place. Now we can add the cooler. So let's punch that first one through. I don't mind putting them in, it's just that taking them out is really not pleasant. And the fan plugged into the dedicated connection. And they're asking for an insulation piece to go here. I guess it's this bit. I can't see anything else that matches it. So they're calling this a power switch converter. And some 18mm standoffs. It's going to be a lot easier with one of these. So the power switch is going to go into those two slots, and these standoffs it's going to sit on. So if I pop that in, I've already made a mistake, this one's in the wrong place. And this power switch isn't going to be that easy to fit with the camera there. So let's try that again. I thought it felt weird. It's actually spring loaded. So it makes a good connection. You think how much planning goes into all of this. Crazy. Then we got to connect the M.2 board. Just make sure that's in all the way. Then it goes in here. Although something's stopping it. It's connecting up here as well. So the power to the board, which is good. That's what you need on NVMe drives. They're definitely more reliable when they've got separate power. You can use it with just the power coming from the PCIe cable, but it's not as effective. Right, so it's worth putting it upside down just to make sure all 4 of those go in. Yeah, that's gone in. And the optional AI accelerator they've sent me. Before that I had the AI hat, but you can't use that and the NVMe drive at the same time. So this means we can have super fast storage and also AI. So this one comes with an M.2 hat, but I don't need that. I just need this part. It's got a screw on it. That's unusual, but quite handy for if you needed to remove it. Not that I would need to remove this in a hurry. So they're putting that closest to the fan. I can pop the NVMe drive in now. I've put a blank drive in on purpose because I want to use the netboot. Got to mount the fans to here. Got some thicker screws here to mount the fans to the case. And it looks like both the big fans are temperature controlled because they've got 4 connections on them. That's good. I'm using a bigger screwdriver for these because you need to screw them into the plastic. And the little tiny screwdriver is not very pleasant to use for that purpose. So I need to disconnect this and feed that through. And that's going to go around this side. It's a bit of an angle it's got to go around because of that standoff. But I don't see how I can take that standoff out and do it any differently. So I think we're just going to have to push this back in a bit. And I've definitely put that standoff in the wrong place because it's stopping this from going together. Right, now we're together. And the camera cable is through, albeit at a bit of a funny angle. So this board connects to the 2 fans. And that goes on to the GPIO pins, so make sure they're all lined up, yeah. Then we need a little OLED display, which I've lost. So that's clipped into place here. And that sticks on this part. And I'm just trying to put this in place and I realised that the fan cable is stretched. I was thinking it was this holding it in place, but it's the fan cable, so I need to reorient that fan. Unfortunately, the instructions don't show the cables on the fans for the orientation. Okay, I've just rotated it 90 degrees. Right, so now it should all go together. That's better. And all of these need to line up. Yeah, they line up fine. You can see the display's waiting to be stuck on. And we can piece it together now, so it'll be a lot nicer when it feels more solid. So I can probably tease this out a bit more now. Yeah, because it's nice to be able to have the option of having the camera longer, but it's still touching on that board. Not that it's going to affect it, but it would be nice if that stand off or there was a little cut out there or something so that it was a smoother line. Looks like we're putting these on now. Little tiny bits left over. It's a shame those little bits stayed on. I have to be really careful getting those off so I don't scratch anything, as it's perspex. Wonder if this will scrape it off. These are for kitchen pans. They're really good. Yeah, that's doing a good job. That's better. We've still got the power switch to go in. Oh, but that's on the front here, so it looks like I haven't missed anything. Okay, so that's the power one connected. It's got the cutout for Pironman on it, which is nice. Yeah, this comes off better than the other one. So the slot is for the SD card, so that's that way around. So this has to go through. I should have done that before connecting the cable, shouldn't I? Yeah, I'm going to have to disconnect the cable and then pop that through that way and screw that back on. Reasonably tight so it feels nicer to push. And pop this one in again. This will be even more awkward because I've got the door in it now. Or the front. There we go. So this will go into place. Let's try and get that nice and straight. Okay, reasonably straight. So that way round for the SD card slot. What's this cable touching on? So can you see what I've done? Oh. So disconnect that again. This is the trouble when you try and make a video when you build something. You don't concentrate completely on the build. Right, that's in place. Power button connector in place. Seem to have a lot of bits left over, and I've also got one of these left over, which is a bit of a worry. Hopefully it's just a spare. I like the way you can't see the screen until it's on. Right, camera cable. GPIO pins are still exposed. Power button. Yeah, the only thing we need now is the feet. So they seem to have the power button at the bottom. So it doesn't lend itself to changing the drive, which I do on a regular basis, but that's why I use the one with a door. But this would be one that you would tend to use as your permanent high case. And obviously you can boot other operating systems from the SD card slot, although not as fast. So we've got to visit Pironman Max, and that'll be to do with things like the display to configure the software. But what I'm going to do is try and boot it up as a net boot, so without an operating system, and see if we can do it from there. Okay, so all plugged in, and it's nice to have all the connections coming from the back of the unit. It powered on itself, and what I need to do is press space and then N for network install. And now what it's going to do is download Raspberry Pi Imager. So this is downloading into RAM. So we're going to go for choose device, and it's a Raspberry Pi 5. Choose OS, I'm going to use 64-bit Raspberry Pi OS. And this should pick up my NVMe drive, it has. And next, I'm not going to make any changes. And yes. And we'll come back when that's all done. So I'll just go through the normal setup and do a full update. So let's go to the website and download all the drivers. Okay, so installing the operating system. There's other systems you can use, although Kali Linux, the GPIO fan is not working, but there's still the main fan on that ice cooler. But with all these others, Home Assistant, Homebridge, Batacera, Ubuntu, and obviously Raspberry Pi OS. Okay, so I don't need that. So set up or install software. So the power button just mimics the power button on the Raspberry Pi. So let's follow their instructions. So open a terminal and paste that in. And we need to modify this, power off on halt. So there's no power off on halt there. So rather than modify it, I'm just going to add it. And just paste that in. And Control X. And yes, and enter to save that. And here's the Pironman 5 module, so let's install all of that. Okay, looks like that went fine. And all the next bit. So it says after a successful installation, a system reboot is required to activate the installation. Follow the on-screen reboot prompt. And upon reboot, the Pironman 5 service will start automatically. Here are the primary configurations for Pironman 5. The OLED screen gives CPU, RAM, disk usage, CPU temperature, and the Raspberry Pi's IP address. And 4 WS2812 RGB LEDs will light up in blue with a breathing mode. RGB fans won't spin unless the temperature hits 60 degrees. And you can stop and start or restart that service. Well, that was easy, and it's nice that they mention other operating systems, because quite often you get things like this where they just work with Raspberry Pi OS and nothing else. All sorts of things you can change and tinker with. Right, whether to restart for the changes to take effect. So yes. Okay, so it's all working. The little OLED display is on, showing its information, and also you can see all the LED lights are on inside. When I tried it, first of all, it wasn't working, and I'll show you the fix. So here's the instructions on the website, and here's the amended instructions I was given. So I'm removing the old Pironman 5 one, and then I'm using the updated version, so you can see -B 1.2.15, and that worked. And now we can look at controlling it. So it's got a dashboard, so you can see here. So we copy this, but we also need the IP address. So if I open up here and paste that in, so it's waiting for the IP address here to access the control of the case. Now the IP address is on the front of the machine on the little OLED screen, but also I can open up a terminal and type in ifconfig. So in this case it's 192.168.1.135. So let's copy that and pop it in here and hit enter. And here is the dashboard. And we've got a settings option here. I think it looks a lot nicer in dark mode. And there's also lots of other things we can show in here. So for instance, we can change the temperature if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit, the OLED, whether it's on or off, But the one I'm interested in is turning off those fans. So you can see there's all sorts of effects and all sorts of things as well. This one here, so fan LED, we can turn off if we want, or follow to go with whether or not the fans are running or not. And if I change this, so you can see here, GPIO fan mode is always on. It doesn't need it for me. It's adequate cooling, and I'd rather it came on when it was at a higher temperature. And I think it said it was 60 degrees that it comes on at. So we can change between different modes. So performance mode, you can see already it doesn't need it in performance mode. And then if we go to the next one, so we've got cool, balanced, and quiet mode. But I can turn the LEDs on if I want on the fans, which I think do look nice, and they'll use very little power, so I probably will just leave those on. But yeah, just really, really nice level of control. Very, very straightforward, very easy to use. You can do loads of this with the terminal, but when you're given this sort of interface, why would you? So you can see the temperatures monitored here, the storage amount on my NVMe drive, my RAM usage, my network traffic, and my processor. And there's also another drop down here. Oh, history and log. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, really like that. So I've tried the camera out, and the camera wasn't recognized, and I found what it was. Basically, the camera cable is here. The standoffs are here, so it puts that board right next to the cable. These are quite bendable, so maybe I'd bend it. I think I've got 2 of these cables. Let's try that. Okay, so I tried that again and it still didn't work for me. So what I've done is I've left out this screw where the standoff is. I could even take out the standoff, although I'm not worried about it. The ribbon cable fits between there. And the way this is held down, so we've got a screw here. The importance of it is to get these 2 pins to go into the board, which they're clearly in. And also I'll have this second one in as well. So I don't think I need this screw. There may be a way around this. I'm sure there'll be an answer in the comments if there is. But for now, to do the camera bit, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm running this from an SD card, and this is because I've already set this system up before for a video 7 months ago when I was testing the Raspberry Pi AI hat. But now I'm using the M.2 one. I'm not sure if it will work the same. You can see I've got the camera pointing down into the case itself. So let's open a terminal and we'll try RPI cam hello. And you can see that that's picking up the inside of the case. So the camera is definitely working now. Happy with that. And if I want to identify the hat, so if I close this down, I can pop this in. So identifying board control protocol version 2, firmware version 4.19, which I need to update because I haven't updated it for ages. Board name HAILO 8, HAILO 8L. But if I run the command I was running before, which is this one, camera comes up, but it's not seeming to do any of the AI bits. And as you can see, HAILO RT not ready. So I think what I'm going to do is just do a full update and see if that makes the difference. So I'll do it via this. As you can see, there's quite a lot there. HAILO All, a newer version. Yeah, all sorts of things in here. Let's install all of that. Okay, so that's all up to date. Let's run one of these object detection demos. So we copy that and pop it into a terminal. Yeah, that's definitely working. Nice and fast. You can see here the object recognition is spot on. That is a dog and a bird. So you can see it's recognising all sorts of things here. I wasn't quick enough to see if it recognised the bikes there, but you can see it's recognising the boats, the people, motorcycle. It is cool. So you may have noticed that I have the case on its side, so Pironman 5 is written upside down. For me, because I make videos on Raspberry Pi and I have loads of M.2 drives, I'm always taking these apart. So for me, it definitely works better this way. The lid just places on top and comes off really easily. I've got great access to the M.2 slots. It's obviously still going to work absolutely fine for the cooling and everything like that. So thanks very much to Sunfounder for sending me this case. I'm really impressed. It's a lovely looking case, very, very practical, has loads of things to like about it. I wish this door was magnetic, and the camera slot is a bit of an issue for me. Obviously it can be overcome, and I'm sure you could fold the cable to do it, but without that screw it actually works fine. So I hope all this helps. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.